Yeah, so I started dancing when I was, I think, about 6. I started doing hip-hop breakdancing, and then I stopped. I broke my arm, and then I decided to. My dad was an event director, so he got me into West Coast swing. After I did Mon Jive for about a year, and then I decided to do like ballet, contemporary, lyrical, jazz, com jazz. I've done a bit of salsa. I've done a bit of zouk. It all helps a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I did the same. So I started doing ballet, jazz, contemporary when I was really little, so from about 6. I did it all through high school, and then did modern jive when I was 13, and did that for about 6 years, and then discovered West Coast swing. And yeah, love West Coast swing. It's my favourite. I've done a bit of Latin, but yeah, West Coast swing is definitely where the heart lies now.
So we started modern jive together, and then I actually looked up to her. She was like the best of the best, and I looked up to her, and then she started West Coast swing, and then I started West Coast swing, and she lived in Perth.
Yeah, so the other side of Australia.
Yeah, and then eventually she moved over to the Gold Coast, Brisbane, and then we started dance. Actually, you danced with my dad.
Yeah.
Danced with my dad for about a year or 2.
Yeah.
And then I danced with her, and now we've been partners for
4 years.
4 years?
Yeah. 4 years now. So.
That's how we ended up together.
Yeah.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, you go.
So, again, like I said, I looked up to her from the start. So, I loved the way she moved. It was insane. She had like a hip-hop kind of style to her. Her footwork has been crazy. So I could never keep up with her footwork because it's got so much involved. But I think she's really, very good with like her own styling. So very good with hitting the music in her own body, for sure. That's something I like.
Yeah, I think I love the shapes Zach creates. So he's very in tune with music, and he's very in tune with what his partner is doing in the movement. So he'll offer a lot of different shapes, and it's just really fun to kind of work and play with. So the one thing he does really well is he plays off his partner. And just because he's a natural dancer anyway, so he knows how to move through the music, and then when it comes together and he offers the opportunities for the follow to join him in that same movement in West Coast swing, it's just, yeah, it's really awesome. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
What I like that question. Sorry, I like that question. Oh man.
Everything.
I was just saying this too the other day.
Yeah.
That I really love that West Coast swing it has a basic, but it's so adaptable to hip hop, to other styles of dancing, and not even just that, other styles in the same pattern. So you can do a whip about a million ways, and none of them are wrong. Like it's all just one. Like they're all. Like France will do a different whip to Australia, to America, to all around the world is different, but it all comes under the same thing, and it's just amazing. I love that it's so versatile. I love that.
So it's one of the fewer dance styles. So where you're not in terms of competition setting, for example, you're not scored on how well you perfectly do one thing, because there's only one perfect way to do it, and you're not scored on how perfectly you do it that one way. You can do a whip differently with, like I do a whip differently with Zach, I do a whip differently with someone else, and I love how that I can bring my own style and my own dance background and put it into the movement of West Coast swing. So I can actually let that influence how I do West Coast swing, and no one looks the same. And I think that's just why this is one of the best characteristics, is that you can dance to any music. You can, all the champions that compete in this style, no one looks the same, and they have this one feature that they all do really well in the scene.
Like they might be a lyrical dancer, and they'll be really good with that contemporary lyrical song, or like hip hop, for instance. Like we're very hip hop based, and like I like to get down and grungy, and she's like really good with her isolations and stuff. And everyone has a different style with different types of music as well. Like the music is a big part of the dance.
Huge.
And it's good that we're not just limited to one style of like like hip hop it has that the bass and the snare and that grunginess to it. Salsa has that timing and
intricate technique and the
Yeah.
body talk. Whereas like West Coast swing, the music it evolves, so the dance evolves with the music of
Yeah.
the time. So whatever the trend of the music is, the dance can actually evolve with that. But at the same time, you can still go back to your blues and your swing and all that sort of stuff as well.
Another part of it is just the social part of it.
Yeah.
Like how
Community.
many people you get to meet and become friends with, and
Yeah.
just new connections. You learn and it's
New
and
connections?
it's amazing. Like my dad's company is called Raw Connection,
Yeah.
and the reason for that is because you have a raw connection with every person you dance with. Like you can't ignore that. It's amazing. Everyone you meet, you even if you don't talk to them, you've had a connection just by being in the same room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have a very fun, unique community here. I think a lot of people who come and visit us as well experience something different to what they get anywhere else. And we make because we're not as mature in the West Coast scene in Australia. We still have this rawness to us, and we still have this phase where we haven't quite evolved into being a certain way. And it's like a younger generation we have. Everyone's really fun. A lot of us have kind of come from modern jive as well, so we kind of have that previous connection, and we've kind of all seen each other go through this journey. And I think there's just a lot of just mutual respect and fun. And every time we travel anywhere overseas, you always know when the Aussies are in the scene, because you can hear us. We're usually the loudest in the corner. Not everyone gets our sarcasm, but that's okay. We've got this playfulness, and I think the community as a whole, it's very supportive, and it's very fun, and it's very lighthearted, and we encourage each other, which I love.
Yeah, we are a smaller community, based off. You have America, you have an event like nearly every weekend almost. Whereas Australia, we're starting to get more events, we're starting to get more people, but eventually this dance is going to be massive, and I think Australia is just trying to grow in numbers, and again, like every other dance school, I think is trying to retain new people and make sure that the dance grows and gets bigger. Once that happens, I think, again, West Coast swing in Australia could be as big as it could be anywhere else. Yeah, it'll be amazing once we get there.
Yeah.
And it is getting there. Like we didn't have when I started, we started with intermediate was our highest level in Australia.
And it was that way for a long time.
Intermediate was the thing to get to. It took me forever. and then events came into play, and now just recently, the last couple events, we've had true all-star divisions, which is insane, and it's so good.
Yeah.
So we're growing. It's cool. Yeah. I think for me, my dad influenced me. So I got into West Coast. I started competing. I was already teaching modern jive, so the teaching style is very similar, with different techniques and all that type of stuff. But I had a teacher that taught me how to teach, and she's amazing. I still teach with her and dance with her all the time. But she taught me how to, smile and make a crowd laugh. Don't keep them standing there for too long, and keep the energy kind of happy and not too sad all the time, unless that's what you're going for. But it just grew from there, and I started loving it. Yeah.
I think for me, there's two types of dancers. So there's the natural dancers that just pick up things very quickly and just do it, and then they have to backtrack and learn how and why they do what they do. And then you have more analytical people where they have to learn the technique and learn the dance. And it's a process, and then the styling and the natural movement kind of comes later. So for me, I was the first one. So the movement kind of comes naturally to me, and I then wanted to understand how and why I do what I do in this dance.
Oh yeah, it
And
helps
then,
a lot.
and then when people, would ask me, I'd be able to tell them, and I would actually be able to have an influence in the community and make sure that everyone's of, the same understanding, and we all, have this real true understanding of the style of West Coast swing and what it is. So when I started, we didn't have really any classes, so I grew up on the west side of Australia, so all we had was YouTube, basically. So that was when YouTube was just kicking off, so I learnt off YouTube. And yeah, for me it was a longer process, because I had to kind of really, really break it down and learn how to teach, and then bring it to the community that we have today. And then through that, just other people have come up through the ranks, and we've had schools and event directors come through, and it's been really awesome. So yeah.
Ooh, next challenge. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, so I guess so Zach and I, we've been in partnership for a little while, but I think now we're kind of getting into the groove of how we work together and dance together. Now that our scene in Australia is getting a little bit bigger, it's been awesome. We've been able to go to so many events in Australia and overseas, which has been super, super exciting. And our next mission, so we've got Swing Station coming up in May this year on the Gold Coast. So we'll be debuting
our
routine there, which is exciting.
We want to take that to the US Open, see how we go. It's really challenging going to America or overseas, because it's so much bigger over there, and it's just amazing. So like our challenge is going overseas and seeing where we're at in terms of the world kind of thing.
It's hard to, when you're in a small community, to kind of, gauge where you're sitting in terms of, how you're progressing in your journey, in your West Coast swing journey, and where you sit. So we love going overseas and learning new things and bringing them back home.
Yeah.
So we'll be going to the US Open this year, and we'll be taking on new routine and competing a little bit more, and
last year our challenge was Swingtacular, and we managed to pull off first with our routine in Rising Star. And that was the biggest mind blow for us. So we're more motivated, I guess, than ever to kind of really push ourselves for the US Open. Even that's the biggest one that there is, really. So that we've heard. And then
we want to put our art on the floor and just really challenge ourselves to push in this routine and just go to new levels. So.
For us, I think, or for me, I don't know about you, but in my head, in America, you have Jordan and Tut that have been doing it, and there's other couples that have been dancing together since they were kids. And people see them grow up. I didn't really get to see them as kids, but because I'm just a kid myself. But you see them grow up and you're like, wow, and you see the development and stuff. I would love to have that, have a journey that people can see, and that and see, and have myself look back at myself now and be like, what the heck are you doing? and then see myself where I am at that time and be like, okay, that's really cool to see the difference and the growth and the change, and have that, I think that couple in Australia, because we don't really have that. We're the longest couple in Australia. That's 4 years, isn't that long, and we're starting to get more and more, and it's just time. That's all it is, and I would love to just build that up as much as I can. Yeah.
Right. Do you have a message to share with the community, with the readers?
A message to share. This dance is amazing. Everything about it, when you meet people, the challenging side, the social side, the laughs, the smiles, the sad times, the drama, everything is worth it. If I could give any advice, is just to have fun, because that's when you learn the most. If you don't want to have fun, you probably don't want to come and do this dance. It is really fun to come around and just dance with everyone, and I just get so much joy out of it. I don't know, that's my message. Yeah, I don't know.
So one thing Chuck Brown says this a lot. He says the reason dance is what brings us together, but the reason we keep coming back is because of the community. And I think it's something I think Australia has, even though we're young in terms of the West Coast swing world, I think in regards to having a really solid supportive community, I think is something we do really well. And we love sending people overseas to meet you guys. We love you guys coming over to Australia to experience, you know, our culture and how we do things. And I want to thank you guys for coming, for those who have, just for coming over, and for those who have, you know, welcomed us and been supportive when we've come into, you know, your hometown.
That's a
amazing.
massive thing. Without the support from each other, we wouldn't be where we are today.
No.
It's really like we're a big family, and we've been helped so much. And the biggest thing, if anyone wants help, absolutely reach out. We've got pages. We've got Max Zaddy on Facebook and a Zaddy account on YouTube, and we've got Facebook. Like, if we can help in any way, we would love to give back, because there's no way that we would be where we are if we weren't given the opportunities that we were given.
Yeah. The only thing I would say, just don't lose sight of why you do what you do. So don't lose sight of why you do this dance. Even though competitions are a big focus on this style, don't get caught up in it. Don't forget the reason you do it.
People get lost in the whole politics about, oh, the music was this, and oh, the event looked like this, and the ballroom looked like this. There was only this many people. There's always something that people are picking on, but you don't have, like, think about the positive side of things.
Yeah.
Like, that's what makes me happy anyway.
When you dance with another person, your only job is to just give them the best dance they can
Absolutely,
possibly have every time. For sure.
Yeah. Merci.
Oh, look, see,
Merci
you know
beaucoup.
words.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup.
Yes. Oh, see, my French is good.
Yeah.